If you've ever wanted to make a podcast of your own and you don't really know where to start, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Anchor, because I feel like a lot of times other podcasters will tell people about how they put their podcast up, and you don't believe them because they're not just two boobs sitting in their living room, but we are two boobs just sitting in our living room. And I'm serious when I tell you.
To put it.
We use Anchor, and it is the easiest way to get a podcast up and running quickly. We bought 2 microphones, we bought a mixer, and then Anchor has tools that you can, if you don't have access to GarageBand or know how to use Audacity, you can record right in Anchor. And it even lets you edit. You can do it all from your phone or your computer. You can even do it from your phone, which I've never tried. But I guess for people, if they're like traveling and they want to do interviews or whatever.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, you can record right from your phone. So I basically got the Anchor account. I named the podcast, did like a little what it's about. Within like a day, I knew how to, like as soon as we had our first episode, I was able to upload it. And then when you put it on Anchor, they go ahead and distribute it to all of the other platforms. So they distribute it to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. You don't even have to know how to do any of that.
Wow.
And then every time, and I'd always heard that like having a podcast was expensive. And the reason why it was expensive is for the hosting. But the hosting on Anchor is completely free. You just upload the podcast, and then it distributes it. And then every time we put a new episode up, it goes straight out on your RSS feed. It does it all. So I'm here to tell you that it is the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much sounds like it's all you need.
Yeah.
It's everything you need in one place.
Yes.
To make a podcast.
And it is totally free.
Nice. That is the best part. I like that. Go ahead and download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
The answer is Van Halen.
Oh, so Van Halen is a member of Van Halen.
Yes.
But there's no Millie in Milli Vanilli.
No.
And there's only 5 maniacs in 10,000 maniacs.
Yes. And the Grateful Dead are all alive, and Def Leppard hears perfectly. And if you have any more questions, call Casey Kasem.
Oh, that's one I do know. American Bandstand.
I don't like what's going on now. Now Sam is managing Al's band.
Oh, well, what's wrong with that? Bands need good help. Even a great heavy metal band like Van Heflin.
Hi. Welcome back to
Hey, yo. Oh, hey.
the Who's the Boss podcast. My name is Tori.
And I'm Kevin.
We are here to rewatch and discuss every single episode of Who's the Boss. Have you watched Brazen on Netflix yet?
I have not. Are you asking me?
Yes.
I live
know
with you,
you
so
haven't.
I live in a house with you. So
I don't know what you do when I'm not around.
I know. Nothing. Because there's no time you're not around.
So right now, Brazen's number 1.
On the Netflix.
We haven't watched it yet, but if you have watched it, let us know what you
Let
thought.
us know what
I'm
you think.
curious. Yes. As I don't know if I want to sit down and watch it yet, unless I get some actual like reviews. Yeah. All right. So the episode we're going to cover today is season 6, episode 7. Oh, also starring Alyssa Milano. She's big in this episode. It's called Sam Can Manage. It first aired on Tuesday, November 7th, 1989. And the TV Guide summary says, Sam, who's managing Al's new rock band, tells her meddling dad to butt out of the biz.
Ooh.
Yeah. You got something?
Oh, I do. Oh, yeah. Hang on. Yes, I do.
You were so distracted by the fish cake on the wall.
I know, which we can talk about if you'd like.
That you lost your place.
Yeah. So Tony's neighbor boy Al started a rock band with his Brooklyn friends Billy, Greer, and Dale.
Oh,
Sam
that is correct.
joins as manager. Tony tags along, convinced they may need adult protection, only to witness his brat being the worst shark in Eddie's deli.
Why is Sam getting called a brat?
I don't know.
I don't think I like that.
I don't know.
I mean, she definitely stands up for herself, but I don't know that I would call her a brat there.
Well, does brat mean something different? This person that does this could be from another.
Oh, that is true. I
Does
don't
brat
really
just
know.
mean like child? I don't really know.
Yeah.
Well, the definition says a child, typically a badly behaved one. Typically.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I've always known it to mean.
Yeah. Anyway.
This episode was written by Daniel Palladino, who we've mentioned him before. He came on later in the seasons and then went on to produce The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and other things. When this episode starts, Tony comes home from the grocery store. He's got a bunch of groceries in his hands, and he sees that he doesn't know anyone in his kitchen.
Yeah, it's just 3 dudes sitting there, and they're eating food, eating his food.
Yeah, and just hanging out. So this is this is Greer, Billy, and Dale. So they are playing the band members of Al's band. I'm not going to go into much about these guys because they didn't really
done. Yeah.
But Greer is played by David Coburn, and honestly, I don't even know who is who because they don't.
I know I'm having trouble with that too.
It's kind of hard to tell by their IMDb pictures.
I know, like one of them went on to write, stopped acting and wrote and directed, but not much. Like very little after. And and one of them did like a lot of like one, they were
character actor.
Character actor. Thank you. But for the most part, they're
Billy is played by Brian Law, and Dale is played by Matthew Walker.
Yeah. One of them, believe it or not, was the bartender in Sopranos.
Typecast. These poor guys are always typecast in The Sopranos. Yeah. So Tony comes in. He's like, "Who are you guys?" And they don't really give much information, but they're like, "What's up? Just hanging out." And Tony just starts yelling for Sam because he figures if anyone is responsible for 3 random guys in his kitchen, it's going to be Sam.
He's thoroughly confused.
Yeah. When he gets out in the living room, he sees that Sam is in there with Al. So Al is back. He's played by Billy Gallo. I think does he go? Yeah, I guess he goes by Billy Gallo now. And at the time, he went by William Gallo.
Oh, I see.
So he's on Instagram. I believe he does podcasting and actor workshops. So
like his current picture is seems pretty up to date.
Yeah.
It's like
so
a
he's still
professional, like a headshot type of picture.
And they're discussing how Al has started a new band. And it's with a few guys that are also from beauty college. So Tony's excited to see him because he really feels like Al is kind of the younger version of himself. Tony starts catching up with them, asking him how things are going. And of course, Tony's like, "Do you have any advice for me?" And Al tells him that he needs to exfoliate.
Yeah, I know. It's funny.
And Tony's kind of surprised because he's thinking
I know. He's like, whatever lotion
he's like, "I thought my night cream was good."
Night cream. So you just see Tony up there rubbing night cream on his face.
Yeah. So they start talking more about the band, and he asks them what kind of music they have, and he's like rambling off all of these different types that Tony probably doesn't know anything about. What is it? It's hard kicking monster beat power pop.
Power pop, yeah, something like that. Springsteen-y hard kicking monster beat power pop.
And Tony's like, "Oh, that's my favorite." Yeah. That and Vicky Carr.
Yeah, which I had to look. I actually, admittedly, had to look up Vicky Carr.
Yeah, I don't know who she is.
Yeah, she's a singer, kind of back in the '60s and '70s, and she sung some more notable. It says in her Wikipedia that she was friends with Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra.
Oh, so
she was big.
Yeah,
time.
And right up Tony's alley.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the type of music that he listens to.
That's a good point, too. I didn't even think about that. Yeah. So that's Vicky Carr. And she's still alive.
Now, Angela comes home. She walks into the kitchen and sees 3 guys that she doesn't know.
Exactly. I know. It's kind of funny they did that.
Yes. And it's funny that the one guy, the only one who has lines, who I'm guessing maybe Greer because his name is listed higher than the other 2 on IMDb, is putting away the groceries. She's like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, just putting away groceries." Oh, there's that fish pan. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, there's a pan on the wall. I think it's a cake pan. I'm sure it's been there forever.
It is a cake pan, yeah. And I do think it's been there forever.
I do too, but I noticed it earlier when we watched the episode, but I didn't see the detail until now.
I think it is a fish.
And it's a fish. But why would you want a cake that looks like a mold of a fish?
Oh, that's such a 70s thing, I think.
Man.
They have a bunch of cake pans on the wall, and I guess maybe it was just popular to mold cakes into interesting things. Yeah. Didn't we make a fish cake though with the girls when your mom was here one time? Why? Why did we do that? Because
my mom saw it on the internet or something, or saw it on a show.
Right,
and
right.
It was one of those nailed it. It looked nothing like the actual cake.
It was cute. It was cute enough.
It got the job done,
it
but
did,
it wasn't. Yeah, was.
But a fish is an interesting cake to make because you don't want to think about fish while you're
That's
eating cake.
my point. Why?
But yeah, I think I even see like an eyeball on that cake pan.
I bet you that was a thing. You look it up on the internet. It probably was a thing. The fish.
The cake.
I'm gonna look it up.
Okay,
the
look
fish
up
cake.
fish cake pan. But cake pans were definitely a big.
Oh, I know.
Back
Cake
then.
pans were huge.
All right, so then Angela yells, "Tony!" because she figures if there's 3 random guys in her kitchen, the only person that's going to be responsible for that is Tony, if not Samantha, which he already suspected. So she goes into the living room and she's like, "Tony, there are strange men in our kitchen." And he's like, No, they're beauticians and they're Al's friends. Don't worry about it. So he tells Angela now that Al and his buddies are kicking off a rock band. So they decide to listen to the tape that he's made. So luckily, the tape player just happens to be sitting out on the table behind the couch.
Oh, yeah. I know, right? Like, I love that in this show and a lot of sitcoms then. Like, if they needed something, it was always readily available.
Yes. Whatever props were needed were put out already. If not, then Tony would have had to go, you know where he would have gone? That little cabinet next to the stairs where he keeps everything and pulled out the tape player.
They wanted to save time.
Yeah.
They were on a fast schedule as they always were.
And they like it. They're dancing to it. It's got a good sound until they hear like a strange mechanical noise in the background. And they ask, "What is that?" And Al says, "Oh, that's the garage door going up," because they're recording this in like a motorcycle room or like a garage.
Some garage.
Basically. Yeah, some kind of car garage. And Sam's like, "You can't distribute that tape. That's not professional and no one's going to listen to it."
Well, you hear the garage door go up.
Yeah.
I know, and because it's the same frequency as the guitar.
That doesn't make sense though. What didn't you just hear the garage
strumming the guitar? The garage door opened. It doesn't make any sense.
Oh, wait a minute. I just thought that somebody opened the garage door to come in the shop to do something and you heard it. But I understand what you're saying. When they actually started
I took it as like when the guitar started going.
No, that absolutely.
The guitar opened the garage.
That is correct. Because he does say that it's on the same frequency. So when they try to play.
Well, now I'm starting to think maybe your thing makes sense.
No, yours totally makes sense. I mean, you hear the garage door because...
I almost think if you listen close enough, you hear the garage door come on right around when the guitar comes on.
Yes, that makes sense. I didn't really understand what that meant, that it was on the same frequency, because I was like, wouldn't you just hear it if it was... But I didn't realize that what you're saying is that it actually triggered the garage door to open.
Yeah.
Which is funnier.
But I still almost think maybe your thing was right, so
no,
it's debatable.
You're just being nice, I think.
No.
No, it makes sense that
because I never thought about it that way either. Like it's on the same the frequency of the garage door opener. The sound still wouldn't go through the amp. So
right,
yeah.
I just figured you would hear it through the microphones, so I didn't understand what the frequency.
That's
part
okay.
meant.
All right, we can move on. We've taken up way too much time.
Too much time. But that's actually funnier then. So Sam's like, you have to figure something else out because you can't just be trying to distribute that tape and be taken seriously. So Sam decides that she's going to help them. And she has like some pretty good ideas. He has a flyer that he's put together where the name of the band is not at all legible. It says Al's band, but Angela thinks it says something. And then Angela thinks it says Arm Band. And Tony thinks it says Arc Bend, but it actually says Al's band.
Arc Band. So
Sam's willing to help. She's going to distribute some stuff at school, get the name around, try to get them a gig. But she's like, you need to get better posters and you need to get a better recording. And she also suggests that when they make new posters for the band, they put their picture on it because they're all like nice looking guys with good hair. So she figures this will attract more people. So now at some point during all this, Mona came home. She didn't care why there were 3 random men in the
I know.
In the kitchen. She didn't go looking for anyone. She didn't ask any questions. Instead, she just started talking to them because now Mona and the 3 guys come into the living room and they're all impressed because she has told them that she slept with Mick Jagger or she dated Mick Jagger.
Right, of course. Like, and it's like burying the lead. Like, well, maybe Angela knew. I don't know. Maybe.
Or she's just making shit up.
The first time we're finding this
stuff.
Yeah,
We've never heard this before. What if Mick Jagger is actually Angela's dad?
Now that's a show twist. Let's see. I don't know. Still 2 more seasons.
So Mona says for 2 weeks he stopped singing I Can't Get No Satisfaction.
Oh, God.
Oh, that's just...
I mean, it's disturbing. She's telling all these young dudes.
So now we cut to the guys practicing in their garage. Man, Angela really puts up with a lot of shit.
I know, like, why are these guys in their garage? They don't explain that, do they? Not even in the other version.
Well, because here the garage door is not on the frequency, I guess.
I know, but they don't ever say why they're...
No,
this isn't where they were originally.
No, not at all. They were...
So they moved all their stuff here.
They did. Because Sam's their manager now, and they just need them on the same set. Tony asks, what are they doing here?
Right.
And then Sam explains that she's going to manage them and that they're practicing. So Tony's not happy about that because he's like, you don't have time for this. You need to work hard in school, get good grades so that you can go to college and become a neurosurgeon.
Right. Why is he so set on the neurosurgeon?
I know. Because it seems like every father wants their kid to become a doctor or a lawyer.
Sure.
That was always a big thing in the 80s too, growing up. It was like doctor or lawyer. Like there were no other professions that really existed except for those two, especially on TV. And Tony's talking to Al a little bit about one of the songs that they're singing, and he's repeating Reagan, Reagan, Reagan about something. And Tony's like, well, that's fine and all, but Reagan isn't president anymore. And Al's just like, yeah, but Bush, Bush, Bush doesn't really sound as good.
Yeah, which he's right. If you listen to the song, you know, the Reagan, Reagan, Reagan flows better.
It does flow much better.
Just saying.
Plus, Bush, Bush, Bush can get taken a lot of different ways. So
that's another great
it's probably headed into some dangerous territory. But it's also funny just hearing them talk about Reagan and Bush, because I remember when... I mean, I obviously remember Reagan as like the first president I can remember as a kid.
Yeah.
I even wrote him a letter. My parents were big Republicans at the time. And then I remember when Bush got elected after that. So it's just so crazy to think that that was so freaking long ago. And
I know. And if you want to think about something that's really crazy is that Ronald Reagan was the 40th president. And you think about now, we're only on 46.
Oh, right.
That's kind of wild to think about.
Yeah, because it's 4 or 8 years.
Right,
so it takes forever.
Yeah. And like, you know, last couple, I mean, Trump wasn't, but Obama was 8 years.
Right.
Bush before him was 8 years.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Bush was 8 years. He did 8 years. So that's 16 years right there, you know.
It's also crazy, too, that this is the first Bush.
Right.
Because there was George H. and then George W.
Right.
And now here we are.
Right, because it was George H., then Clinton, then George W.
Yeah. So,
wow.
And this was, so this is 89. This is 32 years ago.
I know.
That's insane. Okay. Anyway, got derailed there.
Sorry, again, me. It's
no.
Me.
Well, and just, just the idea. It's just funny to hear those kind of total 80s call outs that like really make you remember that you were a kid in the 80s,
yes.
You know, like
Reagan, and Bush.
Yes. So Sam tells Tony, you know, this is actually a good opportunity. Managing a band is also kind of life experience and a good education outside of school. And I gotta say, I kind of agree with Sam.
Yeah.
Like, especially nowadays where schools are kind of more entrepreneurial or focused on different things. Like, I don't necessarily, as long as it's not taking away from her grades or her time to be able to do homework, I don't think that this is really a bad extracurricular activity. But it's just not the picture in Tony's head of what a band manager is. He's picturing somebody sleazy, and he's picturing a man.
Basically,
also.
He's picturing a sleazy man.
Right. Now, inside, this is probably my favorite part of the episode. This is good. Inside the kitchen, Angela and Mona are discussing band names and different bands, because Angela, as we've realized before, she doesn't know anything about pop culture or music, actors. She didn't know who Rob Lowe was, right? Or Tom Cruise, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
So
God,
Mona says, I know, Mona, she's been working very hard.
And she's a lot younger than I am here, right? Like she's young, and she doesn't know a lot about, and I feel like I know a lot about pop culture, but then again, there was no internet.
That is true.
Stuff like that. So
right. And I will admit, like, I think I know a good amount of pop culture until you start talking about like the people who are playing superheroes and stuff. I
know you lose me there.
The Chris Evans and the Chris Pines and
I'm pretty good.
I think music we're probably a little more up on. So Angela says, Mona says the answer is Van Halen. And she's like, oh, okay. So Van Halen is also a member of Van Halen. She's like, yes. And she's like, okay, but there's no Millie in Milli Vanilli. And there's only 5 maniacs in 1,000 maniacs. 10,000 maniacs. Or 10,000 maniacs.
I know. It's actually great. It's a funny scene.
And Mona's like, yes, and everyone in the Grateful Dead is alive, and everyone in Def Leppard can hear. So then she's like, if you have any more questions, call Casey Kasem. And Angela's like, oh, I know that one. American Bandstand.
Which she's wrong.
And Mona rolls her eyes. So help me out here. Who was American
Dick
Bandstand?
Clark's American
Bandstand.
Right.
Casey Kasem is the top.
America's top 40.
Top 40, right.
Which is funny because Mona's like, she's done at that point. Like, I'm all done.
Yeah, I'm done with you.
I'm going to let her think that American Bandstand is Casey Kasem.
Tony comes into the kitchen and he tells them that Sam is managing Al's band and he's not happy about it. And Angela says, no, that's good. All bands need a great manager, even a heavy metal band like Van Heflin. So she kind of got it. But that's also just a mom thing to do where you say the name slightly wrong.
Yes.
And we've made fun of our parents for that for years.
Yes.
And now we do it.
Yes.
And now our kids make fun of us for it.
Yes, they do.
So it's just like, I guess it's just a thing. It's going to happen to all of us, everyone, as they get older.
We're going to start to lose our memory. So
yeah, but it's not even like, I mean, yes, my memory is not as good, but I don't know why sometimes just the names of things like get confused. My my friend Janice was telling me about how her son's big into Tyler the Creator, and she just keeps calling him Creative Tyler, and it really pisses her son off.
Creative Tyler.
Tony says that Sam doesn't look like a manager.
No, here we go.
Yeah. And Angela's like, well, what does a manager look like? Because she's probably also thinking that he's thinking a man. And he does say, yeah, like some sleazy guy with like gold pinky rings and gold chains and sweaty chest hair sticking out of their shirt. Angela's like, nice job. You want to tell me what a Bronco rider looks like now?
I know.
But Tony's like, I just don't think that she can handle it. So Sam comes in with the band members and she's giving them orders for everything they need to go home and do and what they need to practice on and all this stuff. And then she's like, and we'll talk about haircuts. And then the guys are like, wait a minute, haircuts is our deal.
That's
like,
right.
Why are you talking about that? And she's like, oh, artists are so sensitive. So Tony can see that Sam is actually doing a pretty good job handling all of these guys. And Al says, she got us new posters and she got the writing of the name of Al's band is now like legible so people can see it. So now Sam is working on getting them their first gig. But unfortunately, it doesn't go so well. So 2 weeks pass, and we know that time passes because Sam's going to say 2 weeks, but also we get that exterior shot of the house where we then zoom into the living room.
Yeah, that's how you know time's passed.
Yes. So she's trying to get them a gig, and no one's biting. So Al's kind of getting a little bit discouraged.
Yeah, he's even writing lyrics sitting on the couch. I ain't got no gigs. What does he say? It's I ain't got no gig. I'm hurting big.
Oh,
yeah,
poor
he's
Al.
writing lyrics about not having gigs.
Yeah, I didn't catch exactly what he was saying.
Yeah, that's what it is. It says, I ain't got no gig. I'm hurting big.
So Angela comes in, and she's been studying. So she's all proud of herself now that she's like, have you heard the new Paul McCartney? And
she's carrying CDs.
Oh, is that what she's
Yeah, she's got a bunch of compact discs.
Nice.
That's part of her research.
So 89, we had moved to compact discs already.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I remember that. Even before then. Looking it up, they actually came out in 1982. I'm sure they weren't.
Wow. Yeah.
That was probably like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to have a compact disc player.
Right.
And then eventually it got to the point everybody had them, just like everything else.
Yeah, because I looked up to see I remember that my very first, I got a compact disc player, and my very first CD was the motion picture soundtrack to the movie Robin Hood with Kevin Costner.
Yeah.
So that was early 90s.
It had a lot of Ryan Adams on it.
It did. It had a lot of Ryan Adams. But I don't know. I don't remember. I just have a vivid memory of like listening to that over and over again because it was the only CD I had. So Angela's talking about, oh yeah, like I know all about rock, reggae, rockabilly, postmodern, pop, fusion. And then Al says, what do you think of hip hop?
That's it. She's stuck.
And Angela goes, Mother, and runs out. But didn't Mona tell her to talk to Casey Kasem and not her?
That's true. That's a good point.
Doesn't want to hear any of this. Now Jonathan comes down the stairs. Poor Jonathan. They just really don't know what to do with this kid anymore. And he says, hey, Al, when you play your first gig, who's opening for you? And Al's like, I don't know. And he's like, well, I've been working on stand-up. He's like, I do a lot of late 80s stuff. It is the late 80s.
I know. Late 80s material.
Yes. Then one of his jokes is, mini malls, how many 1-hour photos do we need? And like, just the idea of, our kids have no idea of like bringing film anywhere.
No.
And getting it developed.
Nah.
And the 1-hour photo place in the mall was very popular.
I know, it was awesome.
The 80s and the 90s. Then he's like, sushi, if I wanted raw fish, I'd eat a river or bite a river.
Yeah, it was so bad.
Yeah, he's terrible.
They're not even like good dad jokes. They're just bad.
Yeah. Al's looking at him and he says, you're a strange little man. And Jonathan's like, all right, well, I'll take that. And he leaves. So then Tony comes home and he's very happy. He's proud of himself because he got Al's band their first gig. And the gig is playing a school dance at like a middle school or something. So Al's excited about it, but he also doesn't know any of the details. But Sam is not excited. She's angry that he stepped in and started like trying to save her. Right, meddling, exactly like the description said. And trying to help her out. And she's like, listen, you need to back off. And he's like, well, I just thought I was helping because I got, I helped you get a gig. And she says, well, one, what does it pay? And it doesn't pay anything.
Right.
And then two, she's like, this is not the right reputation for Al. Oh, and the new name of the band is now Al and the Hot Rollers.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Yes, because they're beauticians.
They work with hot rollers.
Yes. But it does also kind of give you more of a Tony and the Dreamtones sound to the band name than like an actual rock band. But I guess because they're hot rollers.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it was like Eddie and the Cruisers back then.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
It was a movie, but still.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a Springsteen type of character.
So she's like, listen, I know you're trying to help, but you just need to stop because this isn't the right reputation for them anyway. They're going to be categorized as teeny boppers and they're not going to be taken seriously. So Tony's like, oh, man, music business is a jungle.
Yeah, whatever that means.
We get a cute scene a few days later with Sam, Mona, and Angela. So Sam comes into the kitchen and they ask her, have you gotten Al's band a gig yet? And she's like, no, how can I get them a gig when all these guys on the phone just keep calling me honey, sweetie, and cookie? So she recognizes this one. She's like, oh, okay, I get it. These guys are treating you differently because you're a woman. She's like, I've definitely been there. And she starts to tell this story of her first summer job.
More Angela anecdotes.
Her first summer job at the Fairfield Boat Club. And she was in the canoe division. And 15 girls wanted this job to be the oar girl.
What's the canoe edition?
Canoe division.
Division.
And she was the one who got it. And Mona's like, it was such a proud moment for me. My daughter, the oar girl. So she says that she loved the job, but the boss, Mr. Lancaster, did the same thing to her. And he would call her honey and sweetheart and baby. And he didn't think the job could be done by a pretty blonde girl. And then, of course, Mona has to chime in and say, don't embellish it, dear. So Angela says...
can't just leave well enough alone.
So Angela, I know. And was Angela pretty when she was young? We have conflicting reports. Who knows?
Yeah. We do.
I think that she may have been prettier than Mona has led us to believe. So she says, he started making me doubt myself because he didn't think that I could do the job. And so then I started making mistakes. And one day I sent this couple out oarless. How do you send a couple out in a canoe without any oars? Wouldn't they tell you? Like,
you just like get them in the boat, get them in the canoe, push them out. See ya.
And they're not going to get very far. You probably throw them a couple of oars. So Mona says that the scandal spread all over town and they had to move.
That's a shame.
And so Angela's like, after that, I thought that Mr. Lancaster was right and I couldn't do the job. And then she says to Mona, but do you remember what you said to me, Mother?
This is great. I actually laughed out loud watching this.
This is your favorite
because
part.
she's just going on and on about this great story and this and that. And she's like, do you remember what you said to me? And Mona says, no. Like, it's terrible. Like, poor Angela. And Angela just keeps going because she's so used to it. This
just
you know what I mean?
Beaten down at this point.
I know. It's so used to it.
And she says, you told me that I shouldn't listen to the Mr. Lancasters of the world and that I could do it and to believe in myself.
And see, it was good advice. And she has no recollection of...
Right.
Maybe she's losing it. I don't...
She was a good mother for like 45 minutes this one summer where she gave her this story. And so Mona says, and I also told you that you shouldn't feel guilty about the elderly couple who had to swim back to shore.
Oh, that's a shame. They couldn't figure something out. Somebody couldn't go get them?
I don't know.
They had to jump out of the canoe and swim?
I guess so. Maybe they tipped over and they didn't have any oars.
Struggling.
I have no idea. So Angela says the point is that I stopped listening to him and I started listening to myself, and you need to do the same. She's like, stand up to the Mr. Lancasters of the world, stand your ground, get on the phone and get this band a gig. So they encourage her to keep trying. So this is a really cute, one, it's a sweet scene because it's always fun to see Angela and Sam in like a mother-daughter situation. Right. And Mona in there too. And Mona is helpful for Sam, even though she was terrible to Angela. So now it's the night of their first gig. And this gig is in a deli.
Yeah.
And Angela's like, oh, isn't this cute? A rock deli.
Cute, clever rock deli.
Yeah. And then on the deli, like the counter, is a sign that says, when you knish upon a star.
Oh, that's funny.
We had a disappointing knish experience in New York. Yeah,
that was bad.
I've always loved them as a kid, but wherever we got them, they weren't as good. So either they're not as good as I remember, or I just had a disappointing one because I do love them. They're looking around the place and they're like, oh, it's not that bad. It's a little danky, but it's got a stage and a nice little spotlight. And then Tony sees a woman walk by and he says, nice cheesecake. It's like a pretty girl walking by as one of the waitresses.
Which immediately, that in itself, is comparing a woman to a cheesecake.
Right,
and
yes.
Whatever, it's Tony, but whatever.
Yeah, already that's not something that we'd really see as much today, I don't think.
No, I don't think I've ever referred to a woman as a
not on a family show, anyway.
Or any kind of cake.
And then Angela says, looks like processed cheese to me. And this is
Zing.
the part that really makes me angry about this time, because Angela is mad at Tony because he's noticing this woman.
Right.
So instead, the woman gets insulted.
Right. She gets torn up.
She didn't do anything.
No.
All this woman did was walk by.
Well, and it's meaning maybe she's also trying to tell Tony's got bad taste. In a way.
Yeah, but the woman still.
I know it doesn't bode well for the woman, right?
Right.
But
and you know why it's happening, because these two obviously want to be together,
right? So
and she's annoyed that he just pointed out.
We'll get on with
other
it then.
woman in front of her.
Enough.
Right. So instead of saying, "Stop being a sleaze and pointing out other women in front of me when you know that I want to be with you," she's just going to take it out on the woman.
Yeah, not good.
And I think if you're in a secure relationship with someone, you don't know. I mean, you would never say a cheesecake walked by or whatever. But
unless somebody walked by with a cheesecake, because I would get excited about that. I do like cheesecake.
But there have definitely been times where we have made comments about someone being attractive, and when you are in a secure relationship, you don't really feel jeopardized by that. Like, I'm fine with pointing out someone who I also think is attractive. Like, and I do. The girls get so mad at me because if I'm at school or something and I see someone, or even like a young person out somewhere, I'll be like, "Oh, he's a cute guy," and Avi says, "You're married."
I love it.
I'm like, I can still recognize it. So plus it's like a young person. I'm really just pointing it out to them because I think they're cute.
Right.
But anyway, so I didn't like that joke, but I don't think you would see, I think we've gotten better with the writing these days where you wouldn't insult the woman in that kind of, we don't see women pitted against women as much on TV as we used to, even though we're trained to think that that's what's going to happen most of the time. So Tony goes up to Sam, who's on the stage with the guy. She's wearing a t-shirt that says Al and the Hot Rollers. She's all like, hey, do you have a backstage pass? Being all like Miss Boss with him. And he thinks it's cute. So he's like, yeah, I don't have a backstage pass, but I used to burp the band manager when she was a kid. And she's like, all right, well, that's fine.
Oh, so, burp. That's what he said. I couldn't tell what he said.
Oh, what did you think?
I thought he said birth, and I was really confusing to me. So burp makes way more sense.
Yes. Maybe he pulled her out.
Yeah.
So then she explains that they're making $75 on this gig, and her cut is 10%. So she's going to be making $7.50.
Man, what are you going to do?
So she goes over to the table to say hi to Angela and the rest of the family. And Angela asks, where's Jonathan? And Sam's like, I don't know. He was here somewhere. And then you hear Jonathan introduce himself from behind the stage. How he wormed his way into this situation, who knows? He comes out. He looks adorable in his little, like, kind of Miami Vice looking.
Miami Vice look,
yeah.
With
the light
double-breasted
t-shirt,
coat.
and the coat. And he starts telling his terrible jokes. So then at first Angela's laughing because it's him up there and she's going to support him.
Right.
But then he just starts making fun of her and she says, give him the hook, which means get him off the stage.
Get him off the stage.
Yeah. Tony does go up there and he pulls Jonathan down. So Al and the band get up there and they're ready to play. And Sam's like, hang on, I got to settle it with the owner of the restaurant first, or the deli. So she goes over, and this guy's name is Eddie. He is played by Seth Jaffe. I think that's how you say his name.
Oh, yeah, probably.
But basically a character actor. Oh, wait, does that say? Oh, no, I thought that said the Money Pit, but it said Money Plays. I would have been more excited about the Money Pit.
Yeah, I know, me too.
Falcon Crest. So this was 1989. Oh, he had worked quite a bit before that. Facts of Life, Family Ties, Cagney and Lacey.
He's a pit boss in Family Ties. Go figure.
Pit boss in Family Ties. What does that mean?
No, well, like a pit boss is that kind of a character. Like
I see what you're saying. Like the same, right? He's typecast also.
Yeah.
He was in the TV show Ellen, and then it looks like he has not acted since 2003. He was in Jag. Okay, so she tells him, oh, what happened here? What did I do? I ended up at the beginning of the episode. Sorry. She tells him, we had a deal and you said it was $75 and the payment was up front. So we need to get paid now. And he's like, oh, no, you guys go on and play and then we'll settle it afterwards. And she's like, no, it's $75 up front. And he's like, are you sure we said $75? And so he's really giving her the runaround. He's like, listen, just have the guys play. So she gets the impression that this guy, if they start singing, this guy is not going to pay them.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
He ain't paying.
So Al keeps starting to sing and Sam keeps stopping him. And she tells him, listen, if you don't pay, then we are just not going to play tonight. And if you want to tell the 14 people sitting in this audience that there's no entertainment tonight, you go ahead and do that. Or we can put Jonathan back up there. She's like, Jonathan, tell another joke. Then he gets up and tells another terrible joke. So it works. And the guy's like, oh, all right. And he pulls out $65.
Yeah, nice try.
Yeah. And she's like, no, $75. And then he gives her the full amount. So she has the money and she's ready to go. And Tony he was willing to jump in there as her muscle.
Right.
She's like, I don't need you. And he's like, no, but like you're the manager and I'm the muscle and I'll do it for free. But she handled it. He
said, I'll even pay you.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. He just wants to punch. He wants any reason to be able to punch this guy. But she handles it all on her own, and the guy ends up paying, and the band goes on.
Who's the boss will be back in a moment. Stick around.
In the tag, Tony's cleaning up the garage. We got a couple new shots of the garage, and I didn't really poke around as much as I have before on the episode, but I was looking and I saw that there is a sewing machine edition on the shelf in the background. I think that dartboard's always been there. There's still some old rickety bike. Maybe that's Jonathan's bike.
Yeah, possibly.
And I feel like he would have grown out of that by now.
And there's like a boombox radio in there. That's not the same one that was in the house, is it?
Oh, who knows?
It got
Maybe.
put back out.
Right. This is where they keep it when they're not using it.
Oh, I see.
So all of Al's band equipment is in the garage still because that's where they're practicing. And Angela kind of wanders over while Tony's cleaning up, and she taps one of the cymbals. And he's like, she's giggling.
Very Angela.
I know. And Tony's like, don't touch anything. And he takes the drumsticks out of her hand and he puts them down. Then he goes out with a bag of trash to put it in the garbage can. And you hear someone just going.
Crazy drum solo.
Yeah, crazy drum solo going on. So he runs back into the garage right as she stands up, hands him the sticks and says, I'm better on the trumpet. And walks out. Now, I mean, I'm calling bullshit on all that.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah, Angela, we saw the cello episode. It wasn't good.
Right.
You think in the cello episode she would have mentioned, well, I'm not so good at the cello because I'm a badass on the drums.
Right. Never mentioned the drums.
But I have to mention this one story real quick. When I was in college, and I know none of you know her, but my friend Heather, that I've known for years and I went to college with, she is a badass drummer. And she played drums all through high school and played in bands and stuff. And so we were at college and we were both kind of dorks. But we were at this party one night with another friend, and in the living room of this college party, there was a drum set up and some guys were playing guitars.
Wow.
And they're just like, ding, ding, like playing around, all talking to each other. And then a couple guys were trying to play the drums a little bit. So we were just kind of off to the side, and Heather's like, should I go over there? And I was like, yes, you should. But she was a little nervous. So she walks over and you can kind of see, I remember it so clearly, like the guys looking at her like, oh, okay, this girl's going to come sit down at the drums. And then she just started playing and the whole room just looked at her. And the guys were like, oh, cool. And then they started trying to play along with her. And it was so funny.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It was an amazing moment. It was so great. Huh. So yeah, so that's what that reminded me of. But I'm calling bullshit on Angela being that good of a drummer.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that is the end of the episode. Okay, so do you want to go? Wait, you did. I think I have to do rating first this time.
Okay, that's fine.
I'll give this one a 6.
Okay, 6. All right.
Yeah, I mean, it has some funny parts, but it's not my favorite, and I don't know, but I bet when I was a kid, I liked this one way more because it had to do with Sam.
Yeah, I bet.
But now as an adult, I'm like, it's not one of the funnier ones. And like, I don't know, Al is kind of whatever, and we're going to see, he doesn't leave. He's around
for
more.
Is?
Yes.
Wait, are they trying something? Like get him...
I don't know.
Another character?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what they were going with him, but he ends up being, in a few more this season for sure. I definitely remember 2 more. And then I think he lasts maybe even longer into the series. But yeah, so it's just kind of a whatever. It felt like sort of a filler kind of throwaway episode. I did enjoy the parts with Samantha and Angela together. And the parts with Angela and Mona were pretty funny. But it also just kind of felt like another Tony and the Dream Tones episode. And I'm surprised that Tony didn't try to get in on the singing at some point here.
I know, right?
Right?
How did that not happen?
I know. That seems very out of character for Tony. Okay, your turn.
I'll give it a 6.5.
Okay.
Because I remember before we watched the episode, you're like, I don't like this one, or I'm not crazy about this one.
Yeah.
Or before I watched it. I think you had already watched it.
Yeah.
And did you say you remembered it before? Or
yeah, I did. This one I do remember seeing.
And so I wasn't expecting much, but there were a few moments that I found really funny, like the garage door opening with the guitar. I actually thought that was funny. And then the band, you couldn't read the name of the band on the flyer,
right.
Like little moments like that. And then the opening scene, like when Tony goes through the kitchen, and then Angela goes through the kitchen, and then Mona goes, all the different reactions, with Tony and Angela, cute. It's like who is this? And then Mona blends right, and next thing you know, she's telling about how she had sex with Mick Jagger. Yeah. So, and then the Angela's trying to learn bands, and then she calls Van Halen Van Heflin, and that whole thing with the 10,000 little jokes. Like the writing of the jokes were kind of funny. Like they reference all modern bands that were popular then, and they even covered different genres like Milli Vanilli and was dance or whatever that was, and then 10,000 Maniacs was alternative. It's kind of a cute scene. So there were like little moments like that I and of course the Mona just not have any recollection of some great advice she gave Angela. That was so funny. Classic Mona.
All right,
but
all
yeah,
right.
6.5. I'll say 6.5.
Yeah, you're really champion for.
I know. I guess
You gave your rating, and then you had bullet points as to exactly why.
All right. Well, yeah,
nice
I tried sometimes.
Yeah. Who's the boss around here? Me or my mother? Or maybe it's you?
Sam is the boss. The end.
All right.
Like Tony tries to interfere, but she tells him to butt out, and then the guy, really tries to swindle her in the end, and she doesn't back down. She takes Angela and Mona's advice. She stands up to him, and she proves that she can manage. Sam can manage.
Okay, which is the name of the episode.
Yes.
I will agree with you, but I will say I went back and forth because I thought maybe Angela was, just because she gave her the voice. She kept trying to give her advice and she gave her the advice, go out there and do your thing. Don't stand down or whatever. But then I thought you're right. In the end, Samantha controlled her own destiny, if you will, I guess.
And even the way she stood up to Tony.
Right. She said, yeah, that's true. That's a good point, too. So it definitely is Samantha. But
and she was bossing the band around,
That's true. She was in charge of the band. She took over for them. She got them the gig. And then she got the money when that guy was just kind of like, yeah, whatever, Yeah. So, yeah, I think you're right.
This was a nice okay, so I know I gave this episode a 6, and now I'm going to say this, but this was a nice topic for them to broach also, like a young woman trying to do something in a more male-driven field.
Yeah, especially in the 80s.
Yeah.
Well, almost 90s.
And then getting that advice from Angela and stuff, so that actually is pretty cool. Okay. Sorry. I'm going to keep my rating, but...
All right. You do that.
So you can reach us at Who's the Boss Podcast on Instagram. It's probably any day now that they're going to shut that down too. I've been getting shut down all over town. I don't know. So the Who's the Boss Facebook page got shut down on Facebook.
We have theories if you want to ask us offline. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I have no, because I gave my theory about how I originally thought it was because the person who gave us our little library was QAnon, because that page got shut down.
Right.
And all I had ever posted was that there were books that you could take from this little library. Like, I don't see how that could go against any community guidelines. So we could have gotten pegged on the Facebook Who's the Boss page for posting clips. Probably.
Maybe.
But then I also had an Instagram for a 112 miniature X-Files office that I built like 10 years ago that I used to take pictures of because I'm a huge dork. And I went to go put a picture on that for the first time in a while, and that page got taken down.
That's weird. That's a weird one.
I don't know what I would have posted on.
Maybe there was more of a licensing thing as well.
I guess so, but it's just pictures of action figures in a thing that I built.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not trying to pass it off as anything.
Right,
anyway,
there's no monetary value there.
So I'm just expecting that the Instagram page is probably going to get taken down at some point. So just go to anchor.fm/WTB podcast, and there you can leave us a voice message, and we will play them. All right, so the next episode we're going to cover, if I was better at this, I would have had that planned. Oh, I do know what it is. It's called Super Mom Burnout. And I am actually really curious to rewatch this episode because it kind of deals with Tony feeling like he's burned out as a mom, and I'm just wondering if it's going to be uplifting mothers at the time, or if I'm going to be angry because Tony usually makes it seem like it's so easy. We'll find out. All right, thanks everyone. Bye.
All right, bye.
If you like this podcast, please subscribe and give a big thumbs up and tell all your friends. And maybe you can tell your grandma, your mother, and your sister or brother. Maybe you have no siblings. Tell your dog and cats. Bye.